I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpm.fm to discover more.
Hi, I'm Anna Gasteyer. Welcome to the Theater Podcast with Alan Seals.
Hey everyone, welcome to an all-new episode of the Theater Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Seals, and our guest for this episode is Anna Gasteyer, someone who knows what it's like to chase joy, fight through fear, and build a career that's anything but predictable. Anna has a really cool story because she originally wanted to be a classical voice major, but then that took her into improv comedy, which then, of course, led her to Saturday Night Live. And then all of that training in spontaneity still shapes her work today. We talk about the backstage chaos and the high stakes of SNL's 50th anniversary special that just recently happened, and even get into like the differences and the nuances between a scripted improv moment versus actually improving when it's not expected. That was really cool. And how she balances the need for her creative fulfillment with the realities of her career pressure. She opens up about fighting to be taken seriously as a vocalist, a Broadway vocalist, after her comedy fame on SNL, and how hard it was to get to play Elphaba in Wicked after she was seen as this comedic character. She's also now collaborating with some longtime friends to write 2 new musicals on her own. I'm excited to hear those come out. So if you want to watch the video version of this episode, you can check it out on Spotify or Patreon. Find me on all the social medias. Tag me in your comments. Let me know you're listening. Don't forget to stream the cast album of Once Upon a Mattress that just dropped a few days ago as I'm releasing this episode. Please, everybody, now enjoy this episode with Anna Gasteyer.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Today we're joined by a brilliant actress, comedian, and singer whose work spans television, film, and Broadway, and some of the most unforgettable SNL sketches of all time. She created classics like The Delicious Dish, home of the iconic Sweaty Balls sketch, and brought to life characters like NPR's Margaret Jo, Martha Stewart, and one half of the singing Culps duo with Will Ferrell. On screen, she's starred in Mean Girls, Wine Country, Suburgatory, People of Earth, and NBC's American Auto. On stage, she's played Elphaba in Wicked, Mrs. Peachum in Three Penny Opera, and most recently Queen Agravain in Once Upon a Mattress, which, by the way, just dropped their cast album. Speaking of albums, she's also a celebrated jazz vocalist known for her holiday album Sugar and Booze. Woo! Anna Gasteyer. Welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Thank you, love. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was actually surprised, and I feel like I knew this, but I didn't, that you studied voice first.
Yeah. It's a weird path. I mean, it's meaning I became famous as a comedian, but so I went to Northwestern as a voice major and got there and met all the improv comedy people and started doing improv comedy. And it was in Chicago. And then I kind of dumped the whole music idea and followed this comedy path all the way to LA, did the Groundlings, back to Saturday Night Live. And then after Saturday Night Live, basically by coming to New York and, by virtue of singing a little bit, like whenever you do improv comedy, you kind of use whatever's in your toolkit. Mm-hmm. And I sang a lot on, in funny ways, in characters and stuff. And so, casting people started like inviting me to asking me to be in their readings or workshops or whatever. Like I did the first Hairspray reading, all the what became Jackie Hoffman's role, a bunch of ensemble, and it just got to know sort of the community a little bit. And between my 5th and 6th seasons, I did Rocky Horror. I replaced Joan Jett, and that was my first Broadway credit. And so, kind of got my feet back in the water on that and started training again. And that's when I really doubled down, started properly working to, be an actual legitimate singer.
You made your Broadway debut while doing SNL. I mean, between seasons, but while doing it.
Which now there's more people who probably cross over. But again, it wasn't a very commonly followed path back then.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you had 121 episodes of SNL. At least that's what IMDb says. Does that include the 50th that just happened?
No.
No.
No, it would have been more than... I think it's more than 122 because I've done, she was 20 an episode, 20 a season. I did 6 seasons, so that part makes sense. And then we did a bunch of primetime specials during the time I was there for like election specials and things like that. And then Mother's Day special, Betty White episode I did. I've been back a few times. Yeah.
Is that just like a phone call? Like Lauren just blows up your phone every now and then. He's like,
yeah.
I don't know, we need your back.
Every blue minute. Well, he doesn't call, but yeah. But you get a phone call, and then also because it's like being in like encores or something. Like it's an immediate rabbit hole where you're out. Like no matter when I was on the show, it definitely was the case. Like you always would start on Monday, and then it would suddenly be Sunday, and you hadn't like listened to a single voicemail or whatever. And it's still the same. Every time I'm like, oh, even during the 50th, I was like, it'll be fine. And then suddenly realizing, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock. I haven't eaten anything but a power bar. And
wow.
Yeah. It's just it's because it's so, you just go into the cave, literally.
Wow. I was talking with Hader once, years ago and someone like, such as yourself, such as him, that comes across on screen as well put together, like hard to break, just developing these deep characters. He was saying like before every show, panic attack, full on panic attack.
Yeah.
Like before every live show.
Yeah.
Was it like that for you? What was your experience with the live part?
Well, I mean, yeah, the bummer about it is that you don't ever get to enjoy it. Like one of the beauties of live theater is that you get eventually into a routine with the show.
Yeah.
And showing up and kind of warming up and doing your thing and going out on stage and having fun with the audience. The thing about SNL is because you're especially, I can understand why Bill would say that, because you're eternally pulling it off. You're eternally like seat of your pantsing it. So the fun part of the creativity for me was never Saturday night, really. I mean, I envy people that can do that. I think Kristen can do it. I think Will can do it. I think there's certain people that like really are just incredibly comfortable in the setting of being of making mistakes, basically. But I am not, and so I just sort of never. That's like probably my greatest regret about the show. I never quite got that. But I did. What was fun was Tuesday night writing. The read through table was fun. Thursday rewrite was fun. Like there were a lot of parts of it that were very kind of the actual creative flow process is really, really fun there. And dress is fun actually, because it is, again, you're sort of more, but then the live show tends to be a bit it's just scrambly, because there's so much information. Like even when I went back and did the 50th this year, and the Radio City thing, which was like just totally insane. I mean, just thousands of people in the wings, the massive wings of Radio City, and a million, stage managers. And it's not like theater where you have like a routine. You have like, you're expected at 7:30 and you sign in and then you warm up and everybody on stage, like all the rules are sort of different. So your schedule is, you're doing a lot of spontaneous, like hypervigilant. Like, wait, am I supposed to be somewhere right now? Wait, we need to make a cut to that thing. Well, because you're also responsible for your own material, so you're constantly like, wait, I gotta find the writer, and we gotta submit changes to the booth, and there's a lot of kind of mini producing that you're doing while you're getting ready. It's not just like you're putting on your wig and going to be. I mean, again, this year that was Friday night for me at Radio City Music Hall because I was doing Bobby and Marty the Music Teachers, and I did a bit in Nick Valentine and Bill Murray's bit with Cecily and Maya singing, and then I did Martha Stewart introducing Snoop Dogg. So I had like 3 different things that I was kind of like juggling on my own, more or less, and that I knew was like the highest stakes. Plus Radio City is 6,000 people. It's huge. Like we followed Lauryn Hill. Like it was just the actual like crowd manipulation and dynamic of that is really intense. So by the time I got through that on Friday night, I was like, this is gonna be fun now. So then I was just like, had to sing a little bit in Lawrence Welk and in Mulaney's musical thing that he did, which was fun with Terrence. So that was more fun. The Saturday night show was more just like, I don't really have to drive I can just sit in the back seat and have a good time.
That's really interesting. You said like you don't get to sit into the comfortability of the routine of, you know, Saturday night. It's one and done.
Yeah.
But part of the beauty of theater, I think live theater in general, is even though it is one and done on that night, you get to do it 8 times a week.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, that's the blessing and the curse, right? It's hard. It's hard to do it over and over again. You can get very OCD about it and wanting it to be perfect and wanting to nail it, especially on like a big vocal role, like an alphaba. That would be much harder, where you're constantly wondering your vocal journey on it, and health, and I don't know, like, do I have a cold this week, or am I fighting something, or am I tired? Like a role that is that vocal is a little bit more perilous, but no, I think for the most part, I mean, what the beauty of Once Upon a Mattress for me was that I don't usually actually say yes to comedy music roles, because it took me a really long time to be taken seriously as a vocalist.
Right.
So having to like cut through from SNL into Wicked was really a big effort. Like it really was. Nobody wanted some dipshit from, you know, skit comedy to come and sing Elphaba. I mean, I understand it from the Broadway singer's point of view, right? So I had to very much like earn my stripes and get that going. And it was pre-internet. So even that, like the public really, unless you saw me in Chicago at the Nederlander or at the Gershwin, you really probably didn't know that I did it, you know? So even now there's people like, she played Elphaba, like, you know, and you're like, yeah, she was like the third Elphaba, you know, whatever. But, Once Upon a Mattress is sort of more fun and spontaneous and joyful, because it was this great combination of like comedy character with a little bit of legit singing. And my husband brought me my coffee in a Once Upon a Mattress mug. Oh, because he knows.
He knows.
Just a very subtle, very, very subtle reminder to stream the cast recording.
Stream the cast album. Yeah, that was actually going to be my question. Was ultimately, how did you break out of the trope of you're only as good as what you've last been seen doing?
Mm-hmm.
And because if you wanted to do voice first, if you know you are a legit singer, that is a serious role. Elphaba, like Glinda's the comedic one in that, and there are comedic moments that Elphaba gets to have, but she's not the funny one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did find that she was she was an ironic person, and I think she's a dry person. So we were able to find that, I think, in our particular dynamic. It played pretty well. We found a lot of jokes and things. And of course, comedy is always like common language where you connect with people through jokes. So I think Glinda and Elphaba with Kate Reinders, that it was very connected around the comedy. I do think that when you are, it's a weird thing, and it sounds gross and arrogant. When you are born with a skill to sing a role as big as Elphaba, it's a weird, almost like calling of some sort. Like people who really sing, it's like a common tribe. And so when I started, and it's not something you like talk about, because it's literally, I mean, of course, like I train, I vocalize, I've taken roles that require work when you're doing an Elphaba, even when you're doing Mattress, as much as I'm like, oh, it's a light lift, it's legit. I screamed the entire show, the entire show. So it was actually like I had to warm up, I had to cool down, I had to do all the things that you have to do to take care of your instrument, you know? So when I'm working on Broadway, it's like such a relief, because I'm with other people who also ended up with this weirdo superpower. And, you know, and it's like, it's not something, it's so incredibly almost like religious to work with other singers and to make music. I had the cast over. We were in Los Angeles. We closed on Broadway. We ran through Thanksgiving on Broadway. It was a live-in engagement here. And then we moved to the Amundsen in LA, the whole cast. And, you know, it was a lot of like the ensemble and stuff were away from home for the first time or younger and on their own. And so I have an apartment in LA. And so we had everybody over for Christmas Eve. And I mean, to have like 20 ensemble members from a Broadway show singing Christmas carols. Like,
oh my God.
And Britt, like Dechateau, like, you know, play the piano. And it was just like, you like so moving and fun, and like on this other level of, you know, it's just something that's another frequency or something. I mean, I imagine that it's like what I guess like it would feel like if you're like a really good basketball player and, you know, you're actually with other pros, or like, you know, it's just, there's something very It's like I don't know how else to put it, like a calling or something, you know? That's why I love doing workshops. I love reading music with other people who read music. I love, you know, harmonizing for the first time with people who do it. It's really fun. And that's why obviously I sing so much, even when I'm writing character stuff. I'm writing a musical now. I'm actually writing 2 musicals now. So it's like,
Are you really?
yeah. So it's like fun one's sort of an accidental one and one's a real one, but you know, it's fun. Yeah. It's just part of who I am. And I would never have predicted that. That's the funny part. Like I went off to college and I was like, this is how I'm going to get into college. But when I went to college, I really just wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be to do plays and stuff. And my parents were like, you can't go to conservatory. So you have to go somewhere where you can get a BA. I love the underlying message always being like, because you're not going to work.
Right. Right. We're not going to pay for you to get something you can't use.
Yeah, exactly. Like all responsible parents. And so I picked Northwestern because Northwestern had a 5-year music BA, like dual degree. And at the time they didn't have a music theater department. They had a regular theater department, which I was too like scared to apply to. And I sang my way in. I like sang into sort of the opera program because that's what they had. And again, in the 80s, it was like Midwestern, like nobody, it was like Midwestern musical theater kids are like another breed. Like they'd be like come out of the womb tap dancing and like, you know, took tap and jazz and, you know, worked at Six Flags over the summer and you know, the Kids of the Kingdom and Disney and they all worked equity theater, like summer stock. There's a big culture of that there that we just didn't have. I grew up in DC. I went to a Quaker school. It was very like cultural and arty. You know, we did a musical a year, but you couldn't even be the lead till you were a senior. So it was like, I just didn't know anything about that. And I took a lot of ballet. Again, my parents are snobs. So like, it was like ballet and classical voice, but I couldn't I couldn't make it through a dance call to save my life, you know.
Vocal lessons, dance lessons, yet they still wouldn't let you get anything other than a BA.
BA. So I ended up, I know it's an interesting, it is an interesting contradiction because my parents like are they love the arts. I grew up with Broadway recordings and, you know, all discretionary income went to like Interlochen and violin lessons and like, they were definitely supported all of that stuff, you know. But I guess, you know, it just is what it is. It's like it was a different time, I guess, too.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode.
And I'm really glad I went to Northwestern. Like it changed my life and for none of the reasons that anybody would have predicted. You know, I was a voice major. I hated it. I hated being a music major. I was a bad music major. I played violin 16 years. I still don't ever know what key I'm in, like, you know, that kind of thing. It's so embarrassing. Yeah, because I was a first violinist and I was a first soprano and I'm a lazy ass Gryffindor. Like I just like, I just like stumble in, you know, like a lot of the time. So I ended up dropping out of school of music and I found the improv people, did comedy, went to LA, did the Groundlings, did SNL. And then, you know, you get older and you're suddenly like, what's actually like meaningful and valuable to me? And what do I love? And what am I don't know. We all have complicated and interesting parts, but of course in show business, like you get known as one thing and one thing alone. So that's a long-winded answer to like, it was a circuitous route. And that's also whenever I talk to young people, I'm like, there's no right way to do this. Like you're just going to have to try really hard at everything you're doing, give it your all, and like something will pop. You know?
So, speaking of popping out, I think you had said in a previous interview I was reading that your breakout moment on SNL, which of course put you where you are to get you where you are now, was topless Martha Stewart.
Yeah, I mean that was certainly the moment that I did not have a rough run at SNL. I mean, I was very fortunate that I had come from the Groundlings, so I knew how to write for myself, and I love collaborating, and so I wrote easily with lots of people. But certainly it's not a easy workplace. It's not a love and hugs kind of, you know, come on in and let's be in a trust circle kind of joint. So that was, I mean, I was in scenes every week that I was there, which was totally lucky. and a good harbinger that it was going to go well. But that particular Martha Stewart moment was a moment that I didn't feel new anymore. I felt like people were like, yeah, she's good. I'm glad she's here,
Mm-hmm. Well, where did the ideas get pitched like this? I mean, I know you've probably been asked this question a million times, and I'm sorry if you have to repeat yourself for the million and one time, but where did the ideas come from? Walk us through that, because I imagine that it's probably similar to how you're discovering characters for your 8-show-a-week kind of productions as well.
It's really different, actually.
Is it really?
It's really, really different. Yeah. Because pitching is so much more about then again, that show is so specific, right? It's topical, it's cultural, it's everything's of the moment and writing jokes. So, you're ideating a lot and you're brainstorming what will work and characters, sure, but that's just sort of what's your particular take and what do you find really funny? 8 a week I'm very material oriented. If you're reading a show and or listening to a show, you're thinking it's a combination of things, but I'll just use Mattress as an example. Is the role funny? Yes, it is. Is it a good cast? It was an amazing cast. I mean, that was actually for Mattress, it was cast first. I literally got the offer before. I never did Mattress in high school. A lot of people have, but Dratch had played, or Larkin in middle school, and Amy Poehler had played Winifred in high school. I mean, all my friends were like, oh, I did it in camp, or a lot of people did Mattress. So I knew that people loved it, and I knew Shy. I knew some of the songs, but I knew that the part was funny, and I knew that the part made me laugh. The idea of a controlling mother is funny. So obviously nothing new for me, but and then you're calibrating. I just saw the list. I was like, oh, it's Sutton, it's Michael, Yuri, it's Daniel Breaker, who I'm friends with, it's Brooks, who I've worked with, never on stage prior to that, but Brooks and I get partnered together all the time in workshops because we're both loud and funny. And, it's just the list was just Will Chase, I think, is amazing. Nikki Renee Daniels was amazing. So it wasn't hard. I was like, that's a good group of people. That's going to be fun. They're all grown-ups. No one's an asshole. You start to just do the math on it pretty quickly. And how that's going to, because 50% of 30% of 8 a week is doing the show eventually. And 70% is what's your life backstage? Are the people nice? Is the food good? Is your commute easy? It's all that stuff. Will I get home by, midnight? There's a lot that goes into it.
Well, then I guess
it's a very unartistic answer, I guess.
Oh no, it's not. I think it's actually it's very straightforward, and it's on par with what I've heard a lot of the other times too, of when you're approaching something that is funny, you have to always first start with the text. You start with what's there. And so I guess, the difference in doing sketch comedy versus your already developed shows is that the show's locked already. Whereas what you were saying, going up to SNL, even going up to air, you're writing stuff right before going out sometimes.
That's exactly right. Which is why, and it's the eternal curse of a person who's come from that creative background, like a writer, performer. You're eternally getting the phone call from an agent that's like, the part's not on the page, but we know you'll find something wonderful to do with it. And those are the death knell, where I'm like, I am not doing that, because I did it a lot. I've done it a lot, but to me, if it's not on the page, then I don't want to write it for somebody else, because I've written for somebody else a lot in my career. So if I see it on the page, like David, I'll give you I was the original Aunt Deborah in Kimberly Akimbo, the play at MTC. It was the first play I did when I left Saturday night. And again, I just immediately knew who that woman was. David's a Pulitzer Prize winning writer. It was before his Pulitzer, but he just, and David Lindsay Bear. And I was like, oh, I know exactly who this is. I know exactly how to play this. And so I never felt like I like doing plays because there's a craftsmanship to it, and there's effort being put into a book. And in musicals, sometimes it's thinner and it has to be slightly more decorated, but you have the luxury of singing the most emotional piece of the story. So, or funny or whatever, that when the musical sings, as they say. And it's interesting because right now, Dratch and I are adapting this ridiculous Hallmark Christmas parody movie that we wrote to a Christmas musical. And it's so obvious. Jeff Richman's writing the music, who wrote Mean Girls. And as we're going, it's just so evident where the musical starts to sing. You're like, well, this is the moment at which he would profess his love. And you know that that's where the musical happens, you know? So it's really fulfilling to do things that have been shaped and crafted and thought through, you know?
How do you feel about shows that have the scripted improv moment in them? Like something like Titanic, right? Where there is something, you get to a certain point every day and you have a certain number of minutes to just riff.
I did that in my very first show in Rocky Horror. That's a great question that no one has ever asked me. It's funny because you get I get kind of embarrassed because, you know, your castmates have I feel pressure to like do it differently every single day. And, but at the same time, you want like the luxury of like knowing, wait, that other thing scored. So I'm just going to like land the plane for because the audience, like they've paid a lot of money, you know, and they're focused and you want to like deliver, you know. I guess I respect that the author at some point understands. It depends. Like Justin Spitzer, who created American Auto and Superstore, like I was shocked by how many improvisations he would use on camera in the edit. But I think as a writer, like he's very confident. And so he would, and I know this like from, you know, television writing or whatever, like as long as you get the version that you wrote, you're open to like hearing other things. And people who come from writers' rooms are very flexible about may the best joke win. But on camera, it's different because you're only doing 5 takes of your close-up. So it's like easier to improvise each time.
That's funny that you said that you get embarrassed by that sort of thing. Is it like, do you feel a pressure to just always be good?
It's sort of like weird to me, it's like they've planned an 8-day-a-week spontaneous moment is an awkward moment. Unless you are,
yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I love a spontaneous moment. Obviously in Mattress, we had 1 million. It's Brooks Ashmanskas and me. Like, you know, somebody asked us, we just did a signing for the cast recording, and one of the questions from the audience was like, when did you break? And I mean, there were so many hilarious things that had gone wrong. I'd forgotten, like, you know, everybody had a different story of, you know, and we had all these like props and things that would break and magic tricks that would go wrong. And, you know, everybody had, you know, 1 million different memories of things that were legitimately insane, that, you know, mistakes that were made, or, you know, that cast was so sort of jolly and the text was so playful. And it is a vaudevillian show in some respects. It's 1959. It has that throwbacky entertainers era takes to the audience. You know, Daniel Breaker was great with the audience. So there was a flexibility to do, like I yelled quiet at the audience a couple of times, you know, things like that. That you could just like, you know, shush them, or, you know, things that were fun. You could interact with the audience, but planning it or doing it like, and now is your funny moment, I think can be clunky.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Speaking from personal experience too, to say like, all right here at this beat, that's when you make something up. Yeah, that's too much pressure. I don't like that. But I love improvising around mistakes. That's fun, hilarious,
and the reason it's fun to do every day.
Right.
You know.
Right, and I can't imagine with a cast like you said for Mattress, that is so quick on their feet, so easy to just flow with, that you can literally just make something up when it's not planned, and it's the best thing ever.
No, and like I played the violin in Mattress during Spanish Panic. We had this ridiculous thing where I start like playing, and like, you know, like 2 or 3 times throughout the run, something would happen where it would come completely untuned. Like it would be like a, you know, barometric shift or whatever. I don't know what, but I would get out there and they would hand me the violin and it would literally be like, wah, 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 and people would be crying, laughing, you know? So, I mean, and again, you would just have fun. Yeah. And we yelled at each other. I would yell at, because I had yelled at everybody. So I'd yell as aggravate. I would yell at the conductor. I love the orchestra was on stage. I mean, it was so fun.
Yeah, you get to go out there and just be the diva that you wish you could be.
I know, so incredibly
every other time and every other show.
I know.
Yeah. You're like scripted to basically be Patti LuPone all the time, which
all
is
the time.
Amazing.
And
love
very,
Patti, by the way.
Yeah, who doesn't? And I'm adore. And just to be a diva and holler, and it was so fun. It was so fun.
You've done so much different mediums, different types of performances. You sing, you act, you move. We won't say dance. You move.
I don't dance.
And
I truly don't.
Your indie album is jazz. When you write, what style do you write in? And do you have a preference, like moving forward? You're saying like what's important to you now. What do you write for yourself now versus what you used to? And what's important to you?
You mean
style-wise?
Music or comedy?
Well, either way. Do you want to keep doing comedy, or like you were saying, you want to break out of that and do more drama, jazz, whatever it is? Yeah.
I don't need to do drama. It's fine. I mean, I've done it. It's funny. Josh and I were just saying the other day. I mean, again, so much of it is like you realize at a point all you want to do in your 20s is work, and then you work your whole 30s and you work your whole 40s, and then all you want to do in your 50s is you suddenly realize like all I do is work. So it's this combination of like it has to be. I want to work with friends. I want to collaborate with people. I want it to be fun. I want it to be uplifting. I love creating things. I love making things. Right now, I have literally 5 things going where I'm collaborating with so many of my favorite people from so many pieces of my background, from SNL, from Groundlings, from Broadway, like all these different, you collect these incredible humans that you've had that enormous privilege of getting to know and work with. So I just want to keep making things. And I hope that, that the world isn't tired of me and lets me keep trying them, because I have written a lot, but I haven't really like fully explored that side of myself. I mean, I've been writing my own comedy, since the beginning of my career. But the nature of the way SNL is put together, I didn't even join the WGA till 5 years ago. So
wait, really?
Yeah, which is wild because of the way that you're credited and things like that. So, I'm just enjoying sort of having authorship over a few of these big things, and I'm wanting to do them with people who know what they're doing and having a good time doing so, So I have more Christmas things coming. I love the holidays. I love touring, and I love working with friends. Kind of really straightforward.
Someone who also loves Christmas, of course, famously is Stephanie J. Block. The two of you should do a. She does have like 4 Christmas trees in her house. No joke.
I did not know that. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love
the two of you need like a Christmas diva off.
Yeah.
Where you can just try to out diva each other with Christmas tunes.
Except it would be a loving partnership, not a competition.
I want to produce that for you, please. Looking back at everything you've done, though, do you have a moment that stands out above the rest that's kind of like, wow, this will never happen again. I can't believe I'm here right now.
Not to be gross, but like so many of them. I have had the most charmed, like I can't believe it sometimes. I don't think about it. You're always like rat racing and your head's always down. And I want the things that I make to happen very badly. Right now, I mean, this thing that I'm writing, all I want to do is make sure that we get it. Like I live in fear of not, I have a little bit of like that, Lin-Manuel anxiety of Hamilton, of like, I got to write and get it done. I got to write and get it done. Because I have so many things that I want to get made before I'm too old to make them. And that sort of panic, and I just hope that I get the privilege and the opportunity to do them. But I've had so many. I mean, I got to the 50th was unreal. It was just unbelievable of SNL. It's like, you go into those things, it's like high school reunions thinking like, am I going to have a good dress? And, I came out having had so much opportunity and to do really fun, creative things and be a part of it in such a special way. And, it's so unusual in show business, in life, especially in show business, to be a part of something that's both nostalgic and relevant. You're usually going to like a reunion of something like the 20th of Wicked, but I can't go play Elphaba again. Mm-mm. So it's kind of wild to like, SNL is this like expanding accordion of a show. Like we did characters that were popular 20 years ago, but we did them in a way that is still like singing pop tunes from today. Like, so that we did when Will and I did Bobby and Marty at Radio City. So that was really special. I mean, I got to perform Annie at the Hollywood Bowl. I mean, I was, Hannigan, which I never ever would have imagined, with his all-star cast that, Megan Hilty and Roger Bart and David Alan Grier and Michael Arden directed. I got to play Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway. Like, it's insane. I mean, there's just so many things that I feel, I got to be the lead in an NBC comedy. I don't know. Like, I just feel like I've gotten to do some pretty exceptional things.
So is your next step,
Boston Pops, that was on the list. You know,
your next goal, I mean, it sounds like, is being a Tony-winning musical writer.
I mean, I would love that. I'd like to actually be a Tony-winning actress at some point.
You can do both.
I was just saying to my daughter, it's so hard to get nominated for a Tony. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard to originate a role. It's so hard to find the thing. It just takes a long time to get there. I have such admiration for it. So, yeah, I love being a part of the community. It's so meaningful to me. And I have such massive respect for people who do it. You know, it's hard.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode. Do you have a favorite medium overall? Like you literally have done everything, including like cartoon voiceovers, animated voiceovers. We haven't touched on that. Like, do you have a favorite medium?
I haven't done that much film, so I'll give you that. I mean, I've been in movies, but I've never like had to carry one. I mean, no, I don't. I mean, that's a boring answer, but I obviously live performance is organic to me, and it's terrifying, but it's Bill Hader, you know. I love the relationship of especially song and audience, music and audience. I think is very I really love being in an audience, and I really love being on stage for an audience. I think there's something really magical that happens, especially increasingly in this world of media distraction and whatever. There's so few, you know, I went to Quaker school, like you sit in silent meditation once a week. So I feel like there's this, that audiences are these really sacred spaces, theater. So I do love that. I like television acting because it's fast and, you know, it leaves a lot of room for comedy. I love ensemble comedy in particular. And variety, you know, but I would say it's probably live performance at the end of the day. It's theater and live music.
Answer. Yeah. Good answer. All right, so let's wind down here, and we're going to switch over to Plot in 60 Seconds, which is a fun little 60-second game we've got. I've got a list of 16 popular musicals in front of me, so you give me a number 1 through 16 that will correspond to one of my shows, and then you give me the plot to that show in 60 seconds or less.
I have a caveat before we do this.
What's that?
I am legitimately terrible at plot. Like, my family makes fun of me. Literally, like 3 weeks after I left Wicked, somebody, like one of my children asked me the most basic plot point. I was like, I don't know. I don't remember. They're like, you did it. I'm like, it was great. I enjoyed it. I felt it. I'll walk away with a great vibe and it'll be over. So I'm going to fail so hard on this and I can't wait.
That's what makes it great. Okay. 1 through 16. Give me a number.
9.
9 is The Lion King. Go.
60 seconds remaining.
God. I mean, this is what I mean. A little baby lion, somebody dies. They go, a bunch of hyenas try to eat it. Somebody holds it up on a rock.
Remaining.
And everything's going to be fine. Hakuna Matata. And Simba grows up and overcomes the obstacles of a lonely childhood. The end.
30 seconds remaining.
All right. And Jeremy Irons gets it in the end.
I told you. I've seen it once about 1,000 years ago.
Fair.
Let me do the other point of it. Puppetry, you cry in the opening, the end.
One of my favorites for Sound of Music was Julie Andrews defeats Nazis, the end.
There you go.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
That's it? That's all I got?
Well, I mean, that's probably about a 40%, 40 out of 100.
It was terrible.
It was good.
I don't know what it's about. What is it about? Coming of age.
About coming of age and growing into your
lion skin?
Personhood, your manhood, your womanhood. Yeah. Being who you were born to be or something. I couldn't tell you what the main takeaway is.
What's the plot though?
Well, the plot. Yeah. Oh God. See now I'm on point.
How dare you?
Simba tries to, Scar's the brother of Mufasa, who is the king of the Pride Lands. Scar wants to be king, but now Simba gets born but Scar's trying to take out Simba and makes him feel he kills Mufasa, but he really didn't. It was really him. And then he befriends Timon and Pumbaa. And then they I say, no worries, it's all good. Hakuna Matata. And then because Scar's ruining the Pride Lands, Nala's out searching for food way out where Simba ran away to. They they get reunited. She tells Simba, hey, I kind of like you and you got to come back and save us from Scar. And he does the end and everything's good.
All right. Good job.
Thanks.
Proud of you.
Thanks. Is that better?
You redeemed me.
Okay, I'm gonna put my mouth on top of your face, and it'll just be.
I do know the Sound of Music. I actually know the Sound of Music, and I know Mary Poppins. Why? Because I've watched them at least 3,000 times.
Oh, I'm gonna put Mary Poppins randomly in my list here. I don't have that one.
I don't know the Mary Poppins musical, like the stage plot as well. I saw it, but I don't. All I remember is it was. Do you remember the Dollhouse? It was an amazing set.
Yes.
But I don't. I know the movie set. I knew the movie Mary Poppins better.
I should throw people off by adding bed knobs and broomsticks.
That would really screw them up.
Okay. 3 closing questions, standard questions. Just the first one simply is what motivates you?
Oh, 3 things motivate me. They're so basic. Joy, having a good time, the love I have for my family and my friends, and fear, not getting it done.
Should have mentioned that 40 minutes ago. We could have unpacked that. Okay, let's see. Next question. What advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
My advice to my younger self would be spend less time worrying about other people, because your little path is what it's going to be. Just keep focusing on what you're doing. It's very original. You do you, because over and over and over again, when you commit and you try hard, something good comes from it. And you don't always know what that exactly is going to be, but it does pay out down the line. And working hard, for example, for an audition or a project or whatever it is, never nets anything bad. You may not get the role, but you don't feel bad about yourself, which is a win. You walk with your head high. And you usually, in my experience, something does pay off down the line. I auditioned for Wicked, I didn't get it. And 2 months later, they called me and said, hey, do you want Chicago? Every time I've truly thrown my hat into the ring in an earnest and committed way, it has paid off in a way I haven't been aware of later.
Huh. I love that. Okay.
And stop worrying about other people. You're not going to make somebody less talented. You're not going to make somebody less of a competition. Don't worry about it. There's lots of room. There's plenty of pie.
I like that. What advice? Oh, sorry, I asked that. That was question 2. Third question. If you could only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what would you see?
Oh, God. That's impossible. I mean, I'll tell you some shows I have seen a lot that I never get tired of. I've seen The Music Man 5,000 times. I've seen Cabaret 5,000 times. I've seen West Side Story 5,000 times. I will never not love them. Mary Poppins, as mentioned. Sound of Music, as mentioned. Yeah. How to Succeed, I've seen 100 times.
Oh, that's so good. All right. So where can we find you?
Salesman, I've seen 100 times.
Where can we find you online on social media after you are done listening to the Mattress Cast album?
Right. I'm at Anna Gasteyer everywhere. On TikTok, on Insta, X. Who cares? Facebook. And you can look for my alter ego at September L. Davis.
September L. Davis?
Official September L. Davis. She's got a show coming up.
Oh, great. All right. We'll have to, we'll put that in the show notes. And I'm on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Leave a rating and a review wherever you're listening. You can watch now on Patreon and Spotify, actually. Woohoo! Jukebox the Ghost gave us our intro and outro music, and Anna Gasteyer gave us our wonderful conversation. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.